Hi students, welcome to Shaker's History classes. We are doing this class as part of IAS Prelims and Mains 2022 series. We are continuing the medieval India, Delhi Sultanate. This class focuses on the emergence of a new dynasty after Mamluk dynasty or slave dynasty, that is the Khaljis. When it comes to Khaljis, a major development during this dynasty was emergence of mixed nobility. This emergence is also referred in medieval history as the Khalji Revolution. That means, in previous classes we have seen that the Turkish people migrated to India. The Turkish people, they expanded their territories into India. Along with the Turkish people, other non-Turks also came to India to seek employment. They came as soldiers, they came as artisans, they came as scholars, they came to get more opportunities in the Delhi Sultanate administration. However, during the time period of Mamluk dynasty, the main offices or the powerful offices were monopolized by Turks. Gradually, over a period of time, what is the establishment of Delhi Sultanate? That is 1206. If we take the map, the Turkish people, Turkish invasions took place. It established Delhi Sultanate in 1206. Mamluk dynasty ruled the Delhi Sultanate till 1290. When we studied about Iltutmish, Rajia Sultana, Balban, we have seen various court intrigues in Delhi. Many nobles tried to get more opportunities and they were ruthless sometimes. They have even killed the Sultan to get the high offices. So, this was the kind of political situation in the Delhi Sultanate time period. It continued from Iltutmish time period to till 1290. However, Balban for some time he tried to contain these forces. However, after the death of Balban, once again these forces emerged very strong. Under these circumstances in 1290, when a non-Turk called Jalaluddin Khalji, when he occupied the throne, there was immense jubilation in Delhi Sultanate because it has broken the backbone of Turkish people or Turkish officers, you have to say. So you have to see Turks and non-Turks. Non-Turks included Tajiks, they came from Khorasan region. Turks people came from Central Asia. Tajiks from Khorasan or northeastern part of Iranian people, and Khaljis. Khaljis were having descent of Turks, but mainly they settled in Afghanistan area. Their culture close to Pashtun. So you can say they were Afghan. However, you cannot say these people are fully Afghan. Their descent is Turks. So another category of officers, Tajiks, Khaljis, and another one, Indian Muslims. The Indians who were converted to Islam. These are different type of nobles that are there during a Mamluk dynasty. However, Turks were very powerful. They were so powerful that they always wanted the ruler in their hands. They wanted ruler to be their puppet. Because of this, there was great resentment or anger against the monopolization of Turks. Now, when a non-Turk Jalaluddin Khalji became the Sultan, all these people felt happy, and now it has abolished or demolished the monopoly of Turks. This kind of development in medieval Indian history was called as Khalji Revolution. This gave rise to the mixed nobility in Delhi Sultanate. Now, once again, now a new kind of Indian culture is emerging. So this Khalji people laid foundation for a mixture of different people in the administration. We will see in modern time period also when British expanded their territories into Indian subcontinent, main offices or powerful offices were under Europeans, particularly the British. The Indians were given clerk level offices and very low level offices. Naturally, there was resentment in the Indians, and gradually this resentment took the shape of freedom struggle. Now you can see, so whenever these kind of developments take place, such kind of scenario was called as revolution. So the term Khalji revolution I am often repeating because the Khalji dynasty is very important in medieval history for the emergence of mixed nobility. This scenario in our history is called as Khalji revolution. Now you can see here many non-Turks such as Khaljis also had come to India at the time of Ghurid invasions. When Muhammad Ghori he came to India, he expanded his territories. Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Kubacha. So many people they expanded their territories and they fought the battles. If you remember, there is one name, Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khalji. Bakhtiyar Khalji he went to Bengal and Bihar region and he established his rule there. So mainly one of the reasons for going this far was Bakhtiyar Khalji he could not get employment or the patronage in Delhi. He could not get sufficient patronage in Ghor. So he was continuously trying for better opportunities and he was moving from Ghazni to Ghor to Ghazni, Ghazni to Delhi, from Delhi to Jaunpur, and finally in Awadh region he got an opportunity to raid into further Bihar and Bengal region. So most of the time whatever adventures he has done they are of his own. So they were not sanctioned by the Delhi Sultanate or Muhammad Ghor. They were independently adventurous activities of Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khalji. So because of this, many Khalji people, because Khalji people were looked down upon by Turkish people. So Turkish people used to think Khaljis were of low origin, so they were not given proper patronage. So many people went to Bihar and Bengal region, they settled in this area. So this is the condition when Khaljis emerged as sultans or the powerful nobility in Delhi Sultanate. They had also come to India during Ghurid invasion. Non-Turks had never received sufficient recognition in Delhi because Turkish nobles were busy to monopolize high offices. So they were fighting, Turkish nobles themselves were fighting for the offices. There had been resentment and opposition at this practice. So this is the situation when Khaljis emerged as ruling class. Many non-Turks, particularly Khaljis, settled in Bihar and Bengal. Just now we have seen. Non-Turks were posted in fringe areas like northwest to fight hardy Mongols. So these people, like we have seen during British time period, high offices they were Europeans have taken, and lower level offices and common sepoys, soldiers and clerk level offices were given to Indians. These Indians were sent to hard posts and they were given low level offices. Similarly, in case of Turks and non-Turks, non-Turks were given insignificant posts and also difficult areas. For example, in the northwestern part of India, we are in 1290. 1290 means Mongol threats were very frequent after this time period. Mongols under Chengiz Khan conquered all the Central Asian areas. Now these Mongols settled in this area. Now these Mongols started attacking Indian provinces. It became major headache, major foreign policy problem for many Delhi sultans. So in 1290 also, when Mongols were trying to expand or invade the Indian territories, here we have seen during the case of Balban also, he strengthened the forts in the areas. Lahore, Multan region, he fortified the areas, and as a second line of defense, he strengthened the force. He strengthened the areas of Punjab as well. So this was very real. This threat is very dangerous for the Delhi Sultanate. So Khaljis were posted as the wardens of northwestern part of India. So that means Khaljis were given very difficult charges. Non-Turks were posted, not only Khaljis, other non-Turks were posted in fringe areas like northwest to fight hardy Mongols. Indian Muslims had been admitted to the nobility, however denied high offices. So this part you have to see before the emergence of Khaljis. That is why when Khaljis emerged victorious, there was jubilation in Delhi. Common people. A group of Khalji nobles led by Jalaluddin Khalji, warden of the marches in the northwest, overthrew the incompetent successors of Balban in 1290. So in 1287, Balban died, and after him, his successors were not competent, and under these circumstances, once again, Turkish nobles. Similar kind of developments we see after the death of Iltutmish. When Iltutmish died, immediately after the death of Iltutmish in 1236, within 10 years, 4 rulers came and they were murdered by Turkish nobility. So this is the kind of instability at Delhi after the death of a powerful ruler. Similarly, when Balban died, Balban was very powerful. He raised the prestige of Delhi Sultanate. He made the crown very powerful, and many people accepted him as unquestionable authority. But after his death, once again the power game started, the Game of Thrones started. Once again, instability became the common practice in Delhi. Under these circumstances, a group of nobles under Jalaluddin Khalji, they overthrew, and Jalaluddin Khalji became the Sultan. The Khalji rebellion was welcomed by the non-Turkish sections of the nobility. It only ended the Turkish monopoly of high offices. However, Turks continued in offices. This difference you have to see. When Turkish people were dominant, high offices were under Turkish people. Now when Khaljis became the rulers, they did not altogether remove Khaljis from everywhere. Only the monopolization of Turkish people ended. Now high offices became open for non-Turks as well. However, Turks continued in important offices. Now we see Jalaluddin Khalji. He was there only for a brief period from 1290 to 1296. For the first time, a theory that state should be based on willing support of the governed. He practiced a theory that state should not impose anything on public. So this is very important in the policy of Delhi Sultanate. Now in Delhi Sultanate, when Turkish invasions took place, when Ghori Muhammad came to India as a conqueror, they were seen as foreigners, as invaders. Now they imposed the foreign rule on Indian subcontinent. So this was the situation when Second Battle of Tehran took place in 1192 and Delhi Sultanate was established in 1206. So it was seen as the native rulers like Rajputs were displaced by a foreign power and they were seen as foreigners and they imposed the foreign rule on Indian subjects. This was the condition in 1206. From 1206 onwards, there were continuous challenges for the Delhi Sultanate because they had to face the challenge both from Ghor and from Ghazni and from within Indian subcontinent from Rajputs. Rajputs also they tried to assert their independence. Often they remove the yoke of Turkish offices. By 1290, this policy changed now. Jalaluddin Khalji, now he understands the realities of India. So this was the unique culture of Indian subcontinent. This kind of development you see across Indian history. For example, when Indo-Greeks came during ancient times. Now initially they settled in this part and later they entered. They also accepted Indian tradition, Indian way of life. For example, one ruler of Indo-Greek, Menander, he was converted to Buddhism with persuasion of Nagasena. So this evidence we get from a text called Milinda Panho. So Menander and Nagasena conversation was recorded or compiled in a text called Milinda Panho. So this shows that initially they were foreigners, but once they enter into Indian subcontinent, they understand the Indian traditions, Indian way of life, and Indian tastes. Now they become part and parcel of Indian culture and they enrich the Indian culture. In these 90 years or 100 years, same thing happened in case of Turkish also. That happened during Sakas also, that happened during Kushans also, that happened during Hunas also. Now, once again, in the case of Turks also, similar kind of churning is taking place, similar kind of mixture of cultures is taking place. Under these circumstances, he understood the reality of Indian nature. Now he put forward a theory that state should be based on willing support of the governor. That means people. These people can be of different religions, different races, and different cultures. So different races. Now Turks, non-Turks, Afghans, Indians, and various religions means Muslim, Hindu, Jain, Buddhist, different religions and different cultures. Once again, Turkish culture, Iranian culture, Persian culture, Afghan culture, Indian culture. All these people should support the state, then only state can be maintained peacefully. So he understood that. Large majority of the people in India were Hindus, he understood. The state in India not be a truly Islamic state. This is a major understanding in running the administration. That is why the emergence of Khalji is called as Khalji Revolution. Goodwill of the nobility by a policy of tolerance and avoiding harsh punishments. So now you see the change in nature of the administration itself. However, in those times, we are in 1290, that means 13th century. But these times, these ideas were far ahead of these times. Many considered this to be a weak policy which was not suited the time. Because of this reason, some nobles once again they split their allegiance to Jalaluddin Khalji versus Alauddin Khalji, and the nobles supported Alauddin Khalji and they displaced Jalaluddin Khalji. The Delhi Sultanate faced numerous internal challenges we have seen. So in 13th century, these ideas were very far ahead. They are yet to be consolidated in the Indian subcontinent. Now during the time period of Akbar, we see this mixture is very frequent, very common, and it became very normal for Indian context. The Delhi Sultanate faced numerous internal challenges because of this policy and also external challenges anyway from Mongols threat is coming, and from Rajputs also often some kind of skirmishes were taking place. Alauddin reversed this policy. Alauddin awarded drastic punishments to all those who dared to oppose him. So once again, after Jalaluddin Khalji was displaced by Alauddin Khalji, once again he followed policy of despotism, absolutism, and ruthless policy was followed by Alauddin Khalji, once again to raise the prestige of Delhi Sultan. So this is what Jalaluddin Khalji. We have seen under what circumstances Jalaluddin Khalji became the Sultan of Delhi. He was warden of northwestern part of India. He was fighting against Mongols. After the death of Balban, when weak puppet rulers were there, once again Delhi Sultanate under crisis. Under these circumstances, Jalaluddin Khalji with some nobles occupied the throne. Many people felt happy for this development. In history, it is called as Khalji Revolution. The high offices were open to all people, not only Turkish origin, non-Turkish origin also can now reach the status of high offices. However, his policy was seen as weak and he was displaced by his own son-in-law Alauddin Khalji. He ruled from 1296 to 1316. Now you see how under what circumstances Alauddin Khalji became the Sultan. Alauddin treacherously murdered his father-in-law Jalaluddin Khalji at Kara and occupied the throne. Jalaluddin Khalji, he was there in Delhi as Sultan. Alauddin Khalji was made as governor of Kara in Awadh region as a governor. Now he has to follow the rules and regulations of Delhi, or he has to follow the commands of Sultan. However, what he has done, as the governor of Awadh, Alauddin had accumulated a vast treasure by invading Deoghar in Deccan. So he invaded Deccan region. Deoghar, it was capital of Yadavas. Now who are the contemporaries of Alauddin Khilji? Yadavas, Kakatiyas. Here Pandyans, Hoysalas. In Deccan, these people were there, these kingdoms were there. Alauddin Khilji, without giving any notice to the Sultan, he invaded personally Deoghar, the capital of Yadava kingdom. He got so much riches. Alauddin hoped to get this treasure. Even though he did not give the permission for this adventure, still after becoming successful, after looting the wealth of Deoghar, now Alauddin Khilji praised by Jalaluddin, and Jalaluddin wanted a share in this treasure. So he went to Kara and he was hoping to get the riches to Delhi. However, Alauddin Khilji murdered him. Now Alauddin Khilji adopted the methods of utmost severity and ruthlessness when he became the Sultan. Now once again he know the game of throne and he understood the nobles. He wanted to completely remove the powers of nobles. He understood that if nobles are powerful, they always try to conspire against the throne. Now he wanted to remove their power. In order to remove their power, he wanted to take away the wealth from nobles and relationship among the nobles, and completely he made nobles subservient to the throne. He resorted to a wholesale massacre of rebel Mongols. By this time period, some Mongols were also settled in this area, Delhi and surrounding areas. Some Mongols were attacking, some Mongols when they were captured by the Delhi Sultanate, and some Mongols were given space in Delhi Sultanate and they settled in this area. When, however, there was frequent rebels or frequent revolts within Mongol community. Whenever such kind of rebels were there, he resorted to wholesale massacre of rebel Mongols. A couple of thousand of Mongols settled down in Delhi after embracing Islam in the time of Jalaluddin. We have seen that Jalaluddin was following humanitarian approach, tolerance approach, and he gave opportunity for all kinds of races. Mongols were originally they were following a form of Buddhism. A form of Buddhism in 13th century. When they entered into Central Asia, when they entered into present this northwestern part of India, they were converted to Islam. So when they came to Delhi Sultanate, they were converted to Islam and given some area to settle. However, they did not change their practices. They used to raid or they used to create law and order disturbances. Whenever such developments were there, Alauddin Khilji used to follow ruthless policy, and he massacred whoever rebelled against the throne. Alauddin gave harsh punishments even to the wives and children of Mongol rebels. So this is the kind of policy he followed. Alauddin framed regulations to prevent the nobles from conspiring against him. So those were the days. We have seen that after the death of Iltutmish, even Iltutmish had to face a lot of challenges to stabilize his authority. And through various military and diplomatic channels, he tried to assert himself. After the death of Iltutmish, conspirations against the throne, and once again after death of Balban, same thing happened. Now when Alauddin Khilji became the Sultan, he understood all these realities. He wanted to completely suppress the powers of nobles. And he followed some regulations. These regulations were forbidden to hold festivities. That means no parties, Marriage alliances among nobles also needed the permission of Sultan. That means Sultan should know that what kind of alliances are being made among nobles, and if there is any alliance which is making more powerful alliance, he won't give the permission. He banned the use of wine and intoxicants. So he felt that whenever people take intoxicants, they often rebel. So he banned the use also. He instituted a spy service, a strong spy service, to inform the Sultan all that the nobles said and did. So this is the kind of policy Alauddin Khalji. Today, these are all going against the human rights. But in those times, there was no concept of human rights. So we are in 13th century. Human rights for the first time, we know the time period of 1215. It is also, we are in 1296. In the same century, a great development took place in England in the form of Magna Carta. Magna Carta, it laid the foundations for human rights or fundamental rights of people in the eyes of king. However, this idea was limited only for London. Even in England also, these rights were not spread or given to everyone. So you can think in 13th century, in 1200s, in other parts of the world, this concept was not there. So only rulers were following the absolute power, despotism, complete submission to the Sultan. We have seen during case of Balban also. Balban also followed complete absolutism and despotism to raise the prestige of throne. Same Alauddin Khalji followed. Result of this ruthless policy. What was the result of this policy? Nobles completely became subservient to the crown. The old nobility was completely destroyed. New nobility was taught to accept anyone who could ascend the throne of Delhi. Before Khaljis, the nobles were conspiring against the Sultan, and they used to replace one Sultan with the another Sultan if Sultan is not in their hands. Now because of Alauddin Khalji's ruthless policy, now completely old nobility, old traditions, old customs were destroyed and new nobility emerged. This new nobility came from non-Turkish and Turks also, who accepted the authority of Alauddin Khalji. They entered into the offices. These non-Turks and Turks, now mixture of nobility, they only were taught to accept whoever is Sultan. So that means the Sultan, whoever is Sultan, whether he is incompetent or inefficient, nobles started accepting him as the Sultan. Incompetent rulers like Khusro was also not questioned. So this is the impact of his ruthless policy. Even Nizamuddin Aulia, a famous Sufi saint, acknowledged Khusro authority by accepting gifts. So this is the kind of development. Because of this reason, Khalji rule is considered as Khalji revolution. So these are the various aspects how the Khaljis emerged and under what circumstances Jalaluddin Khalji emerged as Sultan and how he was murdered. Later Alauddin Khalji came, what kind of policies he followed. So this video focuses on Khalji revolution. In next class we will see about various policies about Khalji, Alauddin Khalji, like his market reforms, his expansionary policies and various other developments that took place during the reign of Alauddin Khalji. Thank you.